Welcome to over 15 years of Skate 3. To some extent, this video has actually almost been 5 years in the making because I did an over 10 years of Gran Turismo 5 video that is linked in the description that talks about my dog, Carly, who ends up being an important part of this story as well. So if you want to get some backstory with that, it's linked in the description. But I will say, like that video, there's definitely ups and downs, and in some ways is a sad story. But depending on how you want to look at it, it has a fairly happy ending. So let's get into it, folks. To begin with, Skate 3 came out officially on May 11th, 2010. And I'm doing this video a few days later because I wanted to see if the GT7 update had anything decent enough. Yeah, not so much. When the most modern Gran Turismo game ain't looking the daniest, it certainly ain't the daniest, but for now, the most modern officially out skate game actually still sort of kind of has online. So at the very end is sort of kind of a clip that's pretty recent-ish. Yeah, PlayStation 3 Online, it doesn't not work completely occasionally, so there's that. So yeah, clip at the very end. But to begin with, yeah, I got it on release on the PS3 because I'd already played a whole heck of a heap of Skate 2, and I swear, even at the time, there were actually already rumors that Skate 3 was gonna be the last one. And I played its demo quite a bit as well, and that was also fun. There seemed to be enough changes and all that with the Skate 3 demo that it seemed worth getting. Plus, again, I swear there were already rumors that it was going to be the last one, which ended up being a tourism right on it. To kind of circle back again with the over 10 years of Gran Turismo 5 story. Yeah, and well, other things I mentioned on the channel too, I guess, as well. My dad was never particularly the Daniest, and her money situation was never particularly the Daniest. So, 1 year after getting Skate 2, because back then they kind of came out one after another, year by year, my dad really didn't want me to get Skate 3 because getting the game one after another just seemed like wasting money and all that. But I told him about the rumors and stuff of it seeming like it was going to be the last one. Lo and behold, I was right. And I showed them that I actually had content and stuff in Skate 2 that was popular. Skate 2 doesn't have online anymore to prove this, but yes, even in Skate 2, while I wasn't certainly as known, I made some on-the-spot levels and a few replays uploaded to the game directly that were fairly popular. So I showed him that, and he was kind of sort of on board with it. That was an awkward time in general, because by then the recession had set in by quite a bit. So wasn't buying as many video games in general. And also, by then my dad was starting to go off a cliff. So I was very much leery of really doing all that much in the real world. By that point, I was kind of on the fence of deciding if I really want to make friends and stuff, because I didn't particularly feel confident of them going to my house or in family, mainly my dad, with that. So yeah, I kind of sort of told that story in my life story video, but I mean, long story short of that, I decided to not really bother with friends and stuff, and it wasn't particularly the wrong decision. But the point being is that my dad was against spending money on video games, and in real life I wasn't so really confident in making friends, so I kind of put two and two together there. My mom thought it was a good idea, and I agreed too. It made sense to go ahead and get a dog. Because we had Callie at the time, and she was an outside cat. Never really bothered at that point even considering her, bringing her in, because she was very much badass outside, and she hunted a lot of stuff that we didn't particularly like moles and mice and stuff like that. So she probably killed multiple things per week that was for the benefit. So it was a win-win. She enjoyed being outside, and she killed stuff for us. So when Callie was a badass. Point being is inside dog kind of sort of makes sense because I play with it and hang out with it and spend time, all that. And of course, we didn't really have the Danish money, so we weren't going to do anything more than go to the local animal shelter. And even then, my dad was against that. Lo and behold, though, again, talking about that, there were already rumors that Skate 3 is going to be the last one. I told him stuff in Skate 2. All that was already sort of kind of popular. On release, May 11th, I got Skate 3. And immediately, like literally, it seemed like it was within the day, I found that I was pretty cotton picky good at the Hall Meat stuff. I did a little bit of the story and all that, but mainly, I think it was within the day, I went ahead and went online. And lo and behold, again, the first day was out, so no one really knew what they were doing, but I slightly knew what I was doing because I played the Skate 3 demo and played a whole heck of a heap of Skate 2. Granted, Skate 3's online, or a Hollow Meat in general, online or not, was quite a bit different than 2, but enough to where it kind of sort of a few of the same things apply. But nonetheless, especially from playing the Skate 3 demo a fair bit, I was able to probably win at least 90% of the Skate 3 online Hollow Meat stuff. No one had a team yet, and the servers certainly weren't the dangest. I mean, it was 2010 EA and on PS3. So yeah, EA by then already didn't have a very good reputation, and Skate 3 servers mixed with bad internet and such, you find with that. So yeah, it was a while and a half before I really bothered with teams. By then I already had Team Mopar on GT5, so it really was this player versus player. I couldn't even remember how long it took for teams to work anyway. I'm pretty sure it was a while and a half of that anyway, so whatever. Anyway, the point being, I already started kicking people's ass online. But the thing is with that is my dad really didn't like how that was going. He saw me get this new polished game and all that, and what I did with it probably 90% of the time was just basically bash my head into the ground for points, and he didn't particularly like that either. So this new game they spent all this money on, $60. I don't know what that inflation is now, but yeah, whopping $60 on that. He felt very much butthurt about that and like he was broke because of it, even though he hasn't worked in about 4 years by that point. I'm pretty sure even by then was not even looking for a job. So, yeah, again, more about him and the life story. But the point being is he was pissed at me playing this new game, even though I was pretty copy good at one aspect of it. My mom and I both agreed that get a dog because I didn't really feel confident making friends and all that. So, yeah, kind of put the two and two together when my dad was pissed at me playing video games at the time. By then, I'd already finished everything that was going to with stuff like Gran Turismo 5 Prologue or Need for Speed Shift and the games that were Burnout Paradise, things that were around about that era too. So 4 of those few months before GT5 came out, I was playing probably 90% Skate 3. And I'd already finished Skate 2 by then as well. Oh, that was another thing too. Is because again all the brokeness is he forced to trade in stuff too for every time got a new game. So to get Skate 3, he forced me to trade in Skate 2, which probably got a whopping like $6 worth of trade-in value or something. So Skate 2 plus probably a bunch of miscellaneous other things too. So probably he only paid not even $40 for it with miscellaneous trade-ins and stuff like that. But it was probably also 6 or 7 miscellaneous games to get trade-in, including Skate 2. So that was also a pissy thing that he wanted to do then, is trade in a bunch of games that I still liked, but because he considered them similar to the new one I was getting to trade in, which was incredibly annoying. But whatever, that's not really the main point. The main point is that, yeah, because it seemed very obvious at that point to get a dog. My dad didn't like me playing video games. It's not like I was really going to make friends because of him, mainly. Yeah. It ended up within not so long after May 11th. that my mom pretty much laid down a law and told this story a bit too, but not really in this direct context. That given that I wasn't really so confident making friends and even video games pissed my dad off too. I mean, I was still doing good in school and all that, I always had, so I was still kind of going mine at a bargain of still like focusing and stuff and behaving well, blah blah blah. Either you're gonna get a dog or my mom and him are gonna split up because he hasn't had a job for a while and a half. By then, that was a little bit before it was found out that my grandma had Alzheimer's. Again, that's in the last story. So my mom wasn't taking care of my dad's mom at that point because my dad pretty much refused to take care of her himself. So she wasn't feeling like she needed to do that at the point. So yeah, given how long it's been since he's worked, he's becoming very much an asshole by that point. Not nearly as gone as he ended up, but there's a little bit still to that story to come. So it's going to be ultimately going to get a dog or split up. So because, well, I guess I'll get into the because in a bit because chronological, it's a little bit later. And other things I mentioned, but there is another one there too on my dad's side of things. I ended up getting a dog. We went to the local animal shelter, and there happened to be a purebred Shar-Pei there for, I think it was like $50 or something for a dog back then or something. So, yeah, Shar-Peis aren't exactly the most common in fairly rural Kentucky. They estimated it was only, they said between 1.5 and 3 years old, which is a vague one there too, but whatever, young enough to have it for a while. Its name was Carly, again, over 10 years, Grand Turismo 5 video there. But yeah, she was a good dog. We got her around about June. So how this relates into Skate 3 is that I have a friend all that, so I'm not going to bother bashing my head into the ground for points and all that. Well, in Skate 3, by then, I didn't have any pictures saved back then, but look at the thumbnail of this video, it's even better proof. Back then, I was still already top 5 in the world. I don't think it was cross-platform ranking boards, I don't think. But for PlayStation 3, in overall earnings of Hollow Meat Online. I don't know if what I was with like win percentages or in total ranked of wins or whatever. The way for some reason it was showed in ranked matches with Skate 3 was just in quote unquote board earnings, meaning like sales. You get, I think it was at least like 2,500 per All Meat win, and then we go up for 2,500 for how many people are in the session you beat in a ranked match. So it could be between like 2,500 and like 12,500 or something like that, I think. But the point being is I was already in the top 5 in the world with that, and this was still a little bit before GT5 happened, so it was still mainly what I was playing. So already by that point I was pretty competitive with it. Of course, I very much enjoyed Carly and played with her and all that, but I mean, lo and behold, again, in the over 10 years of GT5 story, it turns out that, yeah, she was somewhat sick. She had some better days and worse days and all that. But, yeah, where the days that she wasn't particularly doing the daniest, especially by then, it was over summer vacation more, too. I played more Skate 3, and that still further pissed my dad off. But something that pissed both of us off beyond belief is sometime in July, a bit after we got Carly, that quite a bit after Skate 3, so it's already getting pretty picking close to even number 1 in the world for the online All Meat earnings on PS3, mind you, which I think was always and forever, no matter the time period, the best selling console with any of the skate games. I think it was always PS3. So you can take that relative to Xbox too. If I was that high up in PlayStation 3, I probably would have been even maybe first in Xbox or PC. Or Skate 3 might have PC or whatever other console it was on too. So yeah, there's that to consider too. It's a minor note there. But yeah, so it was maybe July or so, 2010, and again in a different context. This is in a life story video too. I was looking for one of Carly's toys. Who was actually having a better day there, and I wanted to play with her. Well, Carly wasn't much for playing with toys even on a good day. She pretty much only paid attention to like two or three, and by far her favorite was a little like flat, like crinkly fox thing with a squeaker at the end. So I was looking for that, and where it was flat, it could definitely end up under furniture and stuff. So lo and behold, I was looking under furniture and stuff for that toy, and I found in behind the couch was quite a bit, probably a lot more than one person, but I definitely did blame it more on my dad, worth of marijuana. And I mean, obviously at that age, I've never even remotely considered smoking it or anything like that. I've still not firsthand. I'm sure I got a whole heck of a heap secondhand marijuana, a lot from family and friends of the family, but it's a different story. So yeah, and like I said in the last story video, I was less mad about him actually doing it. I was more mad about that we were broke at the time, and he was acting like we were completely broke. We couldn't afford this dog. We couldn't afford video games, stuff like that. Blah blah blah. It almost pretty much got a separation because of getting a $50 dog. Yeah, he's buying all this marijuana. Not so mad about him actually smoking it, but mad about the cost of it. So, lo and behold, I said straightforward, why is the marijuana here? And it was directed towards him, but it wasn't at the time all the way to him. I think my exact words is, why is there marijuana behind the couch? And then I ended up getting grounded for probably at least a month from everything, or maybe other than like playing with Carly or something. Everything of like video games, TV, stuff like that. Over summer vacation too, so that doubly sucked. For pointing out that he had marijuana, and again, in a different context, it's talked about that in a life story video too, but that doubly pissed us both off because I found out that it was mainly him, mainly, I guess, if you put that as you may, but it was mostly his fault, having the marijuana and stuff. From what I could tell, I only saw marijuana, but it's not like I was superly knowledgeable about this stuff back then, and also legally blind, so take that as you may too, I guess. But all I said at the time was marijuana, because that's the only thing I was sure of. Later on, it was found out straightforward that he was doing heroin, but we don't know the exact time period he started doing that, and there were definitely a bunch of other stuff they were doing as well. So the only things we knew for sure was marijuana and heroin, but that's not necessarily the point. The point being is that we're both pissed off because my dad didn't want to admit that he had all that, so he grounded me because of it, and because I was grounded, I couldn't continue trying to battle for the first place with the Halloween rankings and stuff. Lo and behold, again, look at the thumbnail of the videos, I got there eventually, but so yeah, that was July going in August and stuff. Carly's health was sort of kind of deteriorating by then. It's occasional good days and stuff too, but yeah, whereas granted for like around about a month, I tried to play with her more. Kylie still as playful as ever. She didn't play with toys, but she'd run around. Just fun thing to always mention in the story with them because it's just a very much funny thing is Carly on a runner. Um, because that's just was the mandate and stuff. She wasn't very smart. Sharpays in general ain't the dandiest, and again, she wasn't the healthiest of them either. I get herself wrapped around stuff, and me being legally blind, I mean, some of the stuff I could see better than others of getting her unwrapped with, but nonetheless, because my dad didn't want to do it and my mom still had to work then, it was mainly on me to do it, but again, illegally blind, some of the stuff I couldn't really see so well to do it. So the one that could actually figure out how to get Carly untangled from stuff, who's willing to do it, was Callie, the cat who had never been on a runner whatsoever in her life, figured it out better than I could see. My dad was willing, and then my mom couldn't because he was working. So yeah, Callie took care of. At that point, retrospective, we realized that she was sick, but at the time, not so much. Carly, so that was very much nice of Callie there with the points too. So I mean, I still did my best to play with Carly and all that. She still would carry around that fox toy, but not really so much of playing. Had a little doghouse for her outside that she liked laying enough, but she wasn't really so much for running around and stuff as she was like when we first got her in June or so. So like August, start back school, also this last time to play with her there too, and then barely allowed to play video games at all once school started, pretty much. Or in fact, I think it was literally just completely for a little while on the weekends. Like not even all that long per hours a day on the weekends, just a little. So yeah, lo and behold, I doubt even by like September or so, I was even maybe in a top 20 or so for Halloween stuff. So that kind of faded out of me caring about that. And plus, that was also getting close to when Gran Turismo 5 released, and I think by then it had a pretty set release date. And again, linked in the description is over 10 years of Gran Turismo 5 story. But yeah, with Carly's health deteriorating and me not having so much time to playing video games and stuff, that wasn't particularly the dandiest time of my life. And my dad just slowly going even that much more crazy and all that. And then again, life story video. Yeah, obviously did split up from him because he even got quite a lot worse than even that moment, which at the time I thought that was awful as it really should ever get. It got a lot worse than that. But anyway, the happy bits. Like I said, in over 10 years of Gran Turismo 5 story, there's actually like happy moments in there too. Yeah, so for this one, happy bit is like lo and behold, eventually, like, I mean, once GT5 came out in November 2010, that was my main focus for a while and a half, but it's still probably the game that I played second most, or somewhere around the Skate 3, probably argue NBA 2K11 and then 12 on that too. My dad was pissed again getting the 2 consecutive years, but NBA 2K11 was first year of Jordan, so he's fine with that because there was an actual reason of that. He felt nostalgia and all that too. He liked the NBA Live games in the 90s with Jordan, so he played 11 a little bit too. And then 12, the ratings were literally like 9 to 9.5 out of 10 across the board. So luckily that game was monumentally amazing and probably, at least in my opinion, one of the best sports games of all time. So let me get it. But nonetheless, it was definitely playing a lot of GT5 by then, and then even still second, kind of sort of in between 11, 12, and then Skate 3 of that general time period. But yeah, I slowly kind of caught up after being way behind and stuff. And then, luckily, things ended up working out with dogs. Got Isabel. There's plenty of videos of her, and I would do all my pets video like I've done with other pets got before her. And when after that, too, I'll do eventually with that. She was an amazing dog, and that ended up working out very much too, and things in a lot of ways with my dad got worse, but kind of sort of in terms of me getting better at video games and all that got better, like I've told the story before. I doubled down and focused forward about everything because I didn't want to end up like him in a world about everything. So yeah, probably by 2013, 2014 or so, I was probably back in top 5 or so of Skate 3 online Halloween sales again. Of my actual percentage win, I don't know how high up. Honestly, I'd say it was about 90%. Not to brag or anything, but I mean, that was 1-on-1. was more impressive. I was able to win around 60, slightly above percent of races between GT Sport and 7. Actually, both ended up literally being slightly over 60. So within about 1,000 or so race scale of that, that's my skill level of doing the best. Probably averaging, I'll say 10 cars, because some of the races are more like race B's and C's, and with it, a lot of times in a race A's you wouldn't even get the top all the full 12. So say if I average maybe 10 players in that and winning 60%, or probably averaging maybe 3 players, especially by like 2014 or so of Skate 3. Occasionally you get full lobbies, but I'd say it really did maybe average out 3 total players, so 2 competitors. Take that one as you may, but of course that was only one part of Skate 3, and even by like 2014 and 15, when it had the YouTube renaissance and like all the content creators at the time were playing it, not so much focus on All Meat. Say got slightly more people playing it then, but still not that big of a deal. At no point really past early November 2010 did I play Skate 3 as the main game that I was playing, but at no point did it really ever fall below maybe the 4th or 5th most game that I was playing either for many, many years. Probably at least till I got into college. So there's that as well. And again, the more happy and stuff too. In 2018, to kind of close out this video to some degree, all the Skate 3 servers and all that actually got their full functionality and stuff. While probably about 20, I think it was Christmas break 2012 into 2013, I went ahead and made Team Mopar for Skate 3, and I had a fair few members. I can't exactly remember where we ranked in terms of teams, because the way that worked is you had to get at least 2 players on the team to sync up at any given time, so coordinating that wasn't the easiest. But he actually got a fair few members on the team, even though we couldn't really sync up too good at actually playing the matches together, because really, me being a Hall Meat specialist didn't particularly sync up a whole heck of a heap with the majority of other. Team Mopar is a fairly known team, weren't super high in the team rankings, but pretty well known in like the video pages and stuff of the best of the best of us stuff. We were pretty well up there, but the point being is probably by 2015, 16 or so, the team stuff not working the daniest. I mean, it's EA on a PlayStation 3 era console, and I think it was the same with Xbox 360 too. The stuff quit working as well. But lo and behold, in 2018, for whatever reason, at the time we were thinking, oh, they're going to announce Skate 4 at E3, ain't they? E3 2018. And that was the big rumors at the time. Because not that long before it, probably not even a week before it, all the Skate 3 stuff on all the consoles, and Skate 2 as well, every feature of all of that, Skate 2 and 3 on all the consoles, started working again, and I did a video about that. That's where the screenshot of this video comes from, as that video. I'm not going to link that one in the description because we'll get to it in a minute. But at the time, I was first in the entire world for the All Meat. The way that ended up going is, again, by 2015-16, the leaderboards weren't really working the daniest, and the team stuff wasn't either. So there was a solid 2 years where I couldn't even look at the leaderboards. I wasn't superly paying attention to it at the time because there wasn't an announcement to any of that quit working either. So I can't remember specifically really where I was when it quit working, nor do I remember the specific time in which it started to not work, but I was probably top 3 or so in 2016-ish. So lo and behold, 2-ish years later, once it came on, I saw that I was number 1 in the world. Granted, probably less people were playing by then because, again, the stuff quit working, so that demotivated some people. That was well after the YouTube renaissance, and that was a bit before the TikTok. I wouldn't say quite renaissance, but quite a few younger fans from TikTok too, uh, as well. So that was an awkward time. But lo and behold, it all came on at once, and there was probably a solid 3 week popularity bubble again with Skate 3. Well, because there were rumors of, oh, it would be released at E3, and then that didn't happen. But, oh, there would be released at Gamescom a little bit later, and that didn't happen. Or Skate 4, I might have said 3, 4. And that didn't happen. But nonetheless, it was still cool having all the online stuff work there, too. So that little snapshot in time, I could still see that, yes, indeed, I ended up first in the entire world for Hollow Meat online, and actually on the PS3, which again always had the most players, 6 in the entire world for everything combined. I did the occasional other thing of Hollow Meat, usually the spot battle and that sort of thing. I did a few death races, but by far my main focus, probably at least 80% of the total earnings from it, was Hollow Meat. And yeah, I was actually even 6th in the world. Again, look at the thumbnail of the video. Like total everything online. Doesn't mean I was the 6th most successful or known or whatever, but because I stayed in the Hollow Meat mode that not a whole heck of a heap of people really any time ever played, and especially by then. The occasional person just casual going on there to basically belt the ass with that one a lot of the times. Probably by then I had at least a 95% win percentage because there's far few people played by then. But yeah, that was a cool, happy 2 week bubble in there too. But a little bit sad there to Skate 4 not at all coming out. But then like 2020 or whatever it was, there were very early preliminary leaks. And then like 2021 of the official announcement of yes, it's on the way. And then a miscellaneous play test, starting with the content creators, probably not even more than 10, and then slowly branching out over time, and then out of 2025. Yes, Skate, not 4, is on the horizon. Hopefully within a few years it will release. It'll happen at some point, just called Skate, but I mean, hey, that's cool. And even to actually end on a happy note, too, again, we're getting close to this clip. Again, like to round it off to the beginning of the video, occasionally on a very rare time, if everything kind of falls into place while the leaderboards don't work anymore and the teams don't work and all that, occasionally, and it's also just my dumb luck with it too, is when I happen to be on the PS3 playing, which even the PS3 requires a bunch of hoops to even be able to get online with that nowadays, which is stupid, but whatever. So there's double scenario with that too, as the PS3 even requires extra steps and all that to play online. Nowadays, I guess security, because online itself probably ain't so secure in terms of hackers and stuff, I guess. I don't know, whatever. Plus, just EA, not being a Danish, that the servers 95% of the time probably don't work at all on PS3. And even when they do work, probably 80% of that 95, so it's 99 total, is it even remotely playable. But luckily at some point, granted, it wasn't super recently, but enough to where I was still sold at the very end. Fairly recently, I was actually able to get a PS3 game going. And again, it's free to play PS3 games online. The very few that are still around, it's still free. So the ones that can still sort of kind of work, it's worth trying because it is still free to play PS3 online, even in 2025. Not sponsored or anything to say that, but it's straightforward, it is. And lo and behold, after all the Hollow Meat, after all these years, probably still, if the leaderboards were to work, if I had to guess, it'd probably still be first. Because so few people are playing now, between it not working 95% of the time anymore, and the game has been dead in so many different eras and stuff. It got a little bit of bump in 2019 with TikTok and 2020 with COVID and stuff, but probably by 2022 is dead again. I was actually able to get my highest Hollow score ever online. And it's the final clip, too. believe it or not, I don't have any way to outright prove it. In terms of just one score in one match, final video you see at the very end, got my highest score ever, and that was actually pretty recently. It wasn't like on the 15th anniversary or not. It's purely just crap suit if I can get on there again. I mean, hopefully I'll play Skate 3 on a PS3 again eventually whenever it happens to work and I happen to be on and such with that. Hopefully that won't be the last time ever or anything like that, but yeah. Even around about 15 years later and over it now, people to somehow just crap out my highest score ever. The servers happened to be cooperating there. Maybe we were the only two in the entire world playing at the time. That's a genuine possibility, so that's why the servers weren't doing too awful. But still, yeah, somehow I managed after all these years, and especially being fairly rusty of playing recently, definitely played a whole heck of a heap 10 plus years ago compared to what I do now. So compared to then, quite a bit rusty. Somehow managed to get my best score ever of a single round of doing anything ever in online. And back then, they actually sold that on the leaderboards too. So if lo and behold, somehow the leaderboards come up again too, I'm that much higher in all-time leaderboards. And to be quite frank, a lot of the scores up in those leaderboards are cheating. There's all miscellaneous glitches and all that too. And I have no way to outright prove it. I never really cheated with the whole meat. I mean, there were some things that were iffy, like the bouncing off in consecutive ways, and then figure out I could kind of do the spread eagle to keep the momentum up, and I was really about the only one that, at least I ever saw really doing that, well, like combining it with spread eagle and stuff, because on different levels of surfaces that weren't flat, sometimes that was needed to keep the momentum going. I think I might have genuinely figured that out before a lot of people, but yeah, I never really did the speed glitches. I never did like the glitching through the floor itself where it launches you up in the air thing. I never did the height like top glitches that made you could top shove it, I think it was, it could launch you up in there. I never did any of that sort of stuff to get more points. I just played straightforward because throughout the years some glitches would be patched, some didn't, but where I was playing from the very beginning, I learned how to do it in a way that was meant to be done at the beginning, and that's what I learned to do the best. So maybe even if I could learn a glitch and maybe do it on an occasional way, then it just round by round I felt more confident doing it in the way that it was meant to be played. So that's what I always did, and at least in 2018, it's fairly confident to say now too, it's actually first in the world for all I mean on the console that the game sold the best in. So overall, again, happy ending, and here's the clip to show it really and truly. With that, a lot of sadness and stupidity in it, but overall, considering 15 plus years later, if everything goes absolutely perfect, still play online for free in an extremely rare circumstance. That's more than I ever really considered, especially being number one home meet ever. Never saw that one coming, and it's most certainly worth a yeehaw.